Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. As you may know, I was recently at the Sim Gaming Expo in Chicago and I got to try some of the most insane motion rigs, including full motion platforms such as the VeroMotion Legend 60OF and the Racing Fuel S1 Pro. I'll actually be releasing a full video on that very soon on the channel, so if you're interested in seeing that, make sure that you subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell button. Sim Gaming Expo was a blast. I absolutely loved it, and I have to say, once I got back home to my setup, which I absolutely love and there is no problem with it, but it felt just a little bit bland without any kind of motion or anything like that. However, there was one thing that I was super excited to get back to, and it is this. This is the Qubic System BT1 belt tensioner. And while this is not truly motion in the traditional sense, it might very well be the next best thing, but for a fraction of the price. The QS-BT1 is a dual-channel direct drive belt tensioner from Qubic System that provides force feedback directly from your harness in your seat. I received this thing right before the expo and wasn't able to try it out yet, so I am super excited to install it and see how it's going to perform and how much immersive it's going to make the experience in my sim. So today I'm going to be putting the BT1 to the test across three main things. The first one is just how fun it is and how it compares to motion or full motion. The second one is how realistic it feels compared to real car driving. And lastly, I want to see how helpful it is at giving relevant driving inputs. So my goal is by the end of the video to be able to tell you if this is worth the investment, because while it is much cheaper than motion, at $1,800 it is still not cheap. So let's get to work, get this thing installed on my rig and give it a try. The BT1 arrives in a tightly packed box with almost everything you need. More on that later. Not the most amazing of unboxing experiences, but it works. The first time you pick up the unit, you can tell it's built with quality in mind. It weighs in at a hefty 12 kilograms or 26 pounds, but that's not that bad considering how much force it can put out. It has a pulling force of about 45 pounds per channel. This thing means business. In addition to the main unit, you get a USB cable, the power supply and cord, two low friction inserts for the seatbelt slots, a universal mounting adapter for aluminum profile rigs, and a motion lock jumper. The mounting bracket is meant to work with most aluminum profile rigs. A harness does not come with the BT1, so you'll need to buy your own. Qubic recommends to use a 5 or 6 point harness like this one. A 4-point will work, but there's the risk that the belt will travel upwards during use. That means the seat you use must have slots in the correct position relative to your shoulder height and in the right places. Your seat needs to have slots in the back, on the side, and one underneath. Now let's get it installed. Right guys, so the first step to install the BT1 is to use these brackets here and put them on your aluminum rig. They've actually made it really convenient, so no matter what is the size of your rig, this one is a 160, you'll be able to attach it very easily. And then once both are attached and at the right distance, you'll just come in and attach the BT1 directly into those holes. Although the BT1 comes with a quick start guide, there are no actual instructions in it. Instead, you'll have to scan a QR code and follow the full instructions on your phone. I'm all about saving the planet, but sometimes having a paper manual in front of me would make things easier. The 4 screws that go into the BT1 have an Allen socket input, so they're easy to tighten. I test fit the BT1 to make sure the distance between the two universal mounting brackets is correct. With that all good to go, I could then fully secure the brackets into place by tightening the bolts down. The last step is to insert a nut and washer on the other side to attach the BT1 to the brackets. Right, so as you can see, I finished installing the BT1 to my rig. It is strongly attached. There is some very long screws holding it to the brackets here, so it's definitely really strong. It's not moving at all. It was a little bit tricky to get the nuts tight on the screws in the back here, but now that everything is on, I think it's going to be super strong. So the next step is going to be adding the harness and attaching it to these plates here, of course, so that they can be directly linked to the BT1. So in terms of the harness, I have a 3-point that I have on my other rig, but Qubic System recommends a 5-point harness. So since I wanted to get it fast and be able to test it out, I just went on Amazon and got pretty much the first one that I could find. So I might upgrade this in the future, but this should work for now. This is what it looks like. So guys, the instructions to attach your harness to the BT1 call for an I-ring, which you would attach either to your rig or directly to the brackets here. The thing is, that hardware is not included, which I didn't realize until I arrived to that part of the installation process. So I had to stop and go to the hardware store. I actually couldn't find those I-rings, so I had to find an alternative solutions. I'm going to be using those hooks, which I think are going to work because I just need to basically put the hook in the hole right here and then in the harness in order for it to be securely attached right here. However, I have to say it is quite disappointing. I think for the price of this thing, you would expect that all the hardware that you need is included because you literally cannot start without this and without attaching your harness. So I think that should be included. And also I would love them to actually give an option to just buy the harness with this, because as I said, I had to buy this on Amazon and it is definitely kind of like on the cheaper side, but I just didn't know what I needed exactly, and I just went with the first one that I could find. And I think having the option to just buy it directly with this would be much, much better. But now that I have everything that I need, let's finish the installation and give it a try. Almost done. The last major step of the installation is connecting your harness to the BT1. This is done by using the provided belt fasteners to secure the two belts together. So this is it. I finally finished to install the BT1. It actually was more difficult than I expected. It took me a little bit longer than I wanted, but if everything is right, it should be working properly. I had to attach, of course, the harness on 5 different points. So 2 here, 2 on the sides, and then 1 at the bottom. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm super excited to try it out. So let's plug it, get the software installed, and let's try it out. The Qubic software is very straightforward and user-friendly. It automatically detects the game you're running, in this case, iRacing. You simply go into each game's profile to adjust the belt tensioner's settings. Once inside, you'll see just how many things the BT1 can do. If you thought this thing was just for the braking and cornering effects, you're going to be surprised. Effects such as road harshness, rumble strips, engine vibration, gear changes, wheel sleep, ABS and more are available, and each one is completely customizable from frequency values to intensity. Alright guys, so I am ready to try the Qubic System BT1 for the first time ever. We are in iRacing, we are in the Porsche 911 GT3R at Imola. I have all the settings to the default settings for now because I just want to see how it feels, how I like it, and after I do a few laps just like that, I'll probably go back into the settings and change a few things to configure it the way I like it. But I really want to see what this thing is all about, so let's test it out. Oh, I'm feeling some vibrations already, car vibrations. the shifts. Oh, wow, this is strong. That is awesome. That feeling is so cool. You can definitely feel the cornering effect pretty well. I do like those little kicks when I upshift. And then of course the braking. I can see how subtle the changes are when I'm going left and right. Oh, I can feel how it relaxes slowly on one side, gets tighter on the other side. That is really cool. It is really well done. As far as first impressions go, the BT1 was impressive. That feeling of being tucked back into your seat is mind-blowing, and it's probably the closest we'll ever get to replicating G-forces in an everyday sim setup. However, I quickly realized that something was off. it just didn't feel as snug and comfortable as it should, which affected the immersion. And it was all to do with my sitting position and my using only 4 points of my 5-point harness.
This is crazy.
Qubic emphasizes that it's essential to get these things right, and now I know why. So let's get that fixed. Alright guys, I am back. I gave you my first impressions, but what I realized as I was testing out the BT1 is that your sitting position and the way this thing is set up is so important in order to have realism and comfort and make the experience as good as possible. So a couple of things that I changed. The first one is my height in the seat. So it is very important that your shoulders are exactly straight with the hole and with where your harness is gonna come in. So you really want this to be straight with your shoulders. Otherwise, if you're too low, like I was before, if you're like this, you're gonna be pulled down more than you're gonna be pulled back against the seat. So that's very, very important. So I've had to add some padding in the seat under me in order to be a little bit higher. And the second thing is the 5th point of attachment for the harness. So the first time I tried without it just because it felt a little bit uncomfortable the way it was coming from behind the seat, but I've gotten used to it by now, and I think it is really important because it avoids the entire harness to come up. As it is pulling you back, it will tend to really pull the entire thing up, and especially the 2 attaching points from the sides. So having that 5th point to keep it grounded is very important too. So those are the main things. I've also obviously changed the settings and the configuration of the BT1 to match my expectations, to be not as strong in terms of the braking feeling, in terms of the gear changes as well. So let's see how much of a change all of this makes, and let's talk about those key points that I've mentioned before. I think the fun factor was pretty obvious from my first impressions video, but I want to really see how realistic and immersive it feels, and also how close it is to real driving inputs and helping you in understanding what is happening in the car. And so let's get strapped in again and let's see what we can do. All right, let's give it a try. I am still in the 911, but this time we're at Barcelona. Alright guys, so right off the bat I can tell you that it feels so much better. It is so much more natural feeling now that it is not pulling me like crazy. The shifts are still there, very present, but muted a lot more than they were before, which I think is much better. It feels more realistic. It's also more comfortable. Glad I made those changes. I think the sitting position is definitely helping a lot too. It is still putting me back pretty good, but I don't feel like I'm suffocating or anything like that. So in terms of the realism, I think it is a big improvement. I can definitely feel like I could race this way for much longer than I initially thought. It does not take anything away from the fun, of course. It is such a cool add-on, and I'm so happy to have that on the rig now. And I have to say I'm very impressed with this because the precision of the input that you get when you are taking a turn, with the adaptability of the seatbelt basically making you feel one side being pulled more than the other when taking the turn. Like right now you have one side loosening and not the other. I think it's probably the closest way to mimic true G-forces. So I think this is very clever. Even with motion platforms, probably the most difficult thing to replicate from real life are the G-forces. And even though you're being moved around a lot and bounced around, you often, cannot replicate what true G-forces would feel like in the real car. And so let's see when we take the curves. So there is definitely that feeling in the harness. You can actually feel those curves in the harness, which I think is really cool. Now another thing that is absolutely crucial for realism, for making sure that the inputs feel right, is the response time. So you want the feeling and the inputs that you are getting to be absolutely immediate from what you are doing, just like you want your wheelbase to be very responsive, very smooth. It's the exact same thing that you should expect if you want it to be very realistic. You can probably hear my shifts and see how quickly the belt reacts. It's like it knows what I'm going to do already, and it does it as fast as I'm doing it. And it is exactly the same with the cornering, it is the same with the braking. There is no lag. Look at that. It is pretty insane. I absolutely love this thing. It is so cool. So now I want to try a couple of things, because you should also get feedback for ABS, for example, coming in, and you should even feel when you are trail braking, you should feel, you know, that initial brake pressure really pulling you down, and then as you are trail braking, it should relax a little bit and get better. So let's see right here, hard brake, and then trail braking. You can see that it relaxes as I am letting the brake go. Now let's try some ABS. There is a vibration coming in. That, in conjunction with my SimuCube active pedal, is absolutely incredible, because they are reacting in the same time. So that vibration that I am getting through my pedal is coming also through the harness now. So a lot of people tend to think that this belt tensioner is made to be used along with a motion platform, and yes, for sure, it would just add to the entire experience on the motion platform, but I can tell you that even without it, it is such an amazing add-on to your rig. I think it almost feels like motion. I can definitely tell that my seat is moving a little bit from the pressure that the belt tensioner is putting on it, which almost makes me feel like the entire rig is moving. It might not be meant to be this way, but that's how it feels, which is absolutely incredible. And I have to say, because I have the active pedals from SimuCube, now those force feedback and those vibrations that I am feeling, all of these haptics are matching each other, and it just makes the entire thing make so much more sense. Because when it is only in the pedal, it is of course very nice and it's very helpful in situations like when you're hitting the ABS, or when you want to know, you know, if you're applying too much brake pressure and things like that. Of course, I like to also have an engine vibration on for the pedal, just so that it feels like the car is alive a little bit. And actually, I think if you were to add and have also the butt kicker, which I do not have right now on the rig, but have another haptic system for the rig itself, it would be absolutely amazing, because you could choose which effects come through the belt tensioner, which effects come from your butt kicker, and which ones comes from your pedals or the haptics on the pedals, which some of them make sense to be together, some of them might make more sense. For example, the rumble on, you know, the curves, it could be only the butt kicker, even though I think it's actually really good through the belt as well. But I think if you have all of that, you're pretty much replicating motion almost. So the bottom line for this product, is it worth the investment? Is it good enough to replace motion if you don't have space, or if you don't have the budget for motion? Can this really replace it? Honestly, I have to say definitely. I think this is a great alternative. I was really impressed with what they created here. So I knew it was going to be fun, because you're adding, some haptics, you're adding feelings to your rig. But in terms of how immersive and realistic it would feel, I wasn't sure it would really make me feel like I was in a real car, and I wasn't sure about the speed of response of this belt tensioner. And I have to say, I'm so impressed. I've been having so much fun driving in this. There is nothing really wrong to say about this. Once it is set up properly, once you have the settings the way you like it, it is absolutely phenomenal. So yeah, definitely once this thing is set up properly, if you have the right harness, if you have the right seat and all the configuration set up, it's gonna be an amazing experience, which is what I am experiencing right now. But you have to have everything set up in the right way in order to really enjoy it. when it comes to the price, this is still $1,800. It is not cheap. You'll still need a harness. You need to have a seat that will work with this, of course, that has the right openings for the harness. You can still make it work with the 3-point harness, but I think after testing it, I understand why they recommend 5, and I would definitely recommend going with that too. This one that I got, again, was a cheap one from Amazon, but it works perfectly, so I might stay with that. And again, if you've been dreaming of motion but you can't because of the price or because of the space, I think this is a great alternative, and this thing is not going anywhere. So if at some point you go with motion, it will be an add-on. It will make the entire thing even more amazing. And I think right now I am probably on this rig with the belt tensioner, the active pedals, adding maybe the butt kicker. That probably takes me 70% of the way through motion, which I think is absolutely amazing. I love the motion. I had a blast at the Sim Gaming Expo trying all of the motion rigs, and I can't wait to have my own. But for a everyday rig, I think this is the perfect level that is not over the top, that is not too crazy. It's making a little bit of noise, but it's not super loud either. It's not taking any more space. So I think it is the perfect compromise, but I'm super curious to hear what you guys think. So have you tried belt tensioners before? What do you think? What are your thoughts about it? Do you have any questions at all? And if you do, please let me know in the comments below. I actually have a couple more haptics products that I'm going to be reviewing soon and testing out. So if you enjoy this type of content, make sure that you subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell button. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like, and I'll see you in the next one.